spilling these. Somebody call 911. Shawty fire burn. And now c'est la money qui appelle, j'ai dit goddamn. Je pensais j'avais piqué in high school, that's cute. Le tour est sold out, pis ça criait partout. J'vise les grandes ligues, j'resterai pas dans le queue. Demande pas de feat, on n'a pas les mêmes goûts. Je pensais j'avais piqué in high school, that's cute. Le tour est sold out, pis ça criait partout. J'vise les grandes ligues, j'resterai pas dans le queue. Demande pas de feat, on n'a pas les mêmes.
The mental. Le mental. Mental toughness. La dureté du mental. Puis ici, présentement, il y en a pas mal plus qu'on pense du mental. La chambre est remplie de mental.
Au 873-662-4633, Esthétique VG à Sherbrooke pour du service de qualité.
Pour du polissage, remise à neuf et lavage intérieur et extérieur.
Pour la qualité, à un prix abordable.
Esthétique VG, la référence en matière d'entretien automobile et d'esthétique. Vous pouvez également les suivre sur leur page Facebook. Le lien va être dans la bio.
Hello guys, today episode 12 of the Sports Gentleman podcast. We're here with Paul Lafond, softball player, pretty popular in the United States. Welcome, Paul.
Hi, thanks for having me.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Really good. Doing fine. For those who don't know you, can you introduce yourself in a few words?
Sure. So yeah, I'm Paul. I am from Massachusetts, the United States. So I sort of know, these guys from playing slow pitch. So I started playing probably like 6 or 7 years ago. I had my first experience at the PIF in 2022 in Sherbrooke. And so I've been going back every year since, and lucky enough to have some success. And here I am.
How many years have you been playing softball before becoming that popular?
Sure. I don't know how popular I am, but that's very nice. But yeah, I started playing sort of like the summer after college, or like the summer of my senior year of college. So I was always a baseball player. Kind of got sick of it. Had some friends playing slow pitch. So yeah, I probably started around like 2019 or so. And then during the pandemic, didn't have a lot to do except hit softballs. So, from there, got a lot of work in, getting better and just playing whatever I could. And then kind of took off from there.
How did you first discover slow pitch?
It was really just one of my friends who I played baseball with just like joined the league the year before. And so he just asked me if I wanted to try playing slow pitch. And so I tried it. Originally, probably wasn't very good, but it's a ton of fun. And anything that's fun and piques my interest, I usually want to invest some time in. And so that's when I started taking it a little more seriously and trying to get better.
One of our co-hosts went to see, and like you already were recruited by Harvard or received a scholarship. Is that?
No. So I had I was sort of interested in playing baseball in college, but I got, better offers for school. So I was better at school than I was baseball in high school. So I do wish probably that I tried a little harder to play college baseball, but I think it worked out pretty well. So I ended up having some strong junior and senior years in baseball, but it was kind of too late to get recruited, or I wasn't trying very hard. So I was always a school first person. And so that's kind of where I went with it.
What hooked you about softball to the point of turning it into such a lasting passion?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has, similar feel to baseball, except it's faster paced. balls are in play really fast. I think there's like an extra element of strategy in softball that's not in baseball, simply because, as a batter, you have a lot of control. Whereas in baseball, if you're a batter, you kind of have to just hit the pitches you can as best you can. Softball, you have a ton of control over, what pitches you hit, where the defenders are playing. So I think it adds that element of like, you can like work on a new swing, you can like work on a new skill, like, pretty directly. I think there's like, a good feedback of like, hey, like I can go out and try this thing and work on this thing and like get better at it.
Was there a turning point where you thought, I want to take slow pitch to the next level?
Yeah, I think there were probably a couple moments. When I first, just started playing in leagues, I just like wanted to find the best players I could and join forces with them, or, like try to be as good as them. And then I started playing tournaments, like, pretty low level. I had a ton of fun doing that. Like you kind of see like, the more competition out there and what's out there. And then, I kind of just got in with a good group in some local tournaments, like higher end players where I played well with. And then I think like where it really sort of clicked for me more that like I could play at a high level is, my first chance playing super high level tournaments where I had success. And then at the PIF in 2022, where sort of the first time, I was at a place where there's like major players and, super high level players on every team, and I competed pretty well.
What's been your biggest moment on the softball field?
I would probably definitely say the first PIF is probably my favorite moment. We kind of had like a slap together team of some guys, so I didn't really know. It was a combination of guys from the States and guys from Canada. It was kind of a fun team. We clicked really well. Like a lot of our games are really close and competitive. And, personally, I won the home run derby and the MVP that year, which was, a huge surprise to me, especially when I went up there. I didn't even really know if I'd be playing or like, what my role was going to be. So I think it was just, like one of those weekends where you didn't really expect something great to happen, but, it couldn't have worked out any better.
You've played with or against some big names in the slow pitch scene. Who impressed you the most?
Oh man, that's kind of I'll see if I can. That's kind of a long list because I used to be, I used to follow it pretty closely and be a pretty big nerd about it. I think there's a lot of players that everyone knows who are just like real masters. Like someone like Kyle Pearson. When I first started hitting, like I'd see him on like Instagram and whatnot, and like he's just the best. I think there's a lot of guys who are like maybe a touch older in the game, like Greg Cannell. It's kind of hard because some of those guys they're just really big and talented. And so you kind of want to like find players that are more similar to you that like you can sort of, replicate, their game a little bit. But I think like a lot of guys who have a really good combination of like power and, intelligence with what they're hitting. I think there's a lot of another guy like Bryson Baker is like another guy who's been playing for a while who are just like super, super high IQ hitters. And I think like those are the type of guys that I try to emulate. Because I'm not like the biggest guy around. And so there's times where depending on the conditions, like going for a home run is like not possible. So you have to have like a lot of different tricks and you have to like sort of know how to have success when like your preferred swings aren't there.
How do you consider yourself on the field? Like which type of player are you?
I've sort of bounced around everywhere in the field. I mean, I would say I'm fine almost everywhere that's not like shortstop or something like that or center field. I've played corners my whole life in baseball and softball, so first, third, left, right, anything like that. I have confidence I'll make the plays.
Do you have any pre-game or pre-tournament rituals?
I'm probably like one of the more boring people around, like when it comes to going to tournaments. So I try to get sleep. I try to hydrate. I I'm a big proponent of batting practice. I like getting loose, stretching the best I can. I think like in any sport, sometimes like you don't have your best swings or your best feel right away. And so I'm always interested in like having a sense of like what my swing feels like for that day, or, you know, what I have confidence going into. So like when the first game hits, you know, my first few at bats, I'm going to take swings that I'm really confident in and try to get off to a good start. So that's typically like the mindset I'm in.
How did the connection with Louisville Slugger happen? Did they approach you or?
Yeah, so I played against Team Production that has Francois and a lot of other guys who were signed by Louisville my first year at the PIF. And so, you know, I've always played really well against them. And, you know, I happened to, you know, play well at the right time in front of the right people. And, you know, from there, they reached out to me, which was like nothing I would ever have expected was going to happen. But I was like, you know, super, super humbled and like more than enthusiastic about like being a part of that for sure.
What exactly does your role as a representative involve with Louisville?
Yeah, I think it's like not always like, you know, concrete, but at least for me, like I think the role that I play best is like the people around me, like locally. You know, I always, you know, offer them to swing my bats, or, you know, tell them about Louisville Slugger bats. A lot of them use my promo code. And I think I have a lot of success with like staying very close to the people I started playing with and like the different leagues I'm in, the people who, you know, they're not playing super high level, but they love the game and they're enthusiastic about it, and just like never being, you know, too big to hit with someone or to like talk to them at the field, give them tips, or, you know, chat with them about the bats they like or the types of, you know, specs they like. So, you know, I try to just be like, you know, a good representative, you know, someone that they would be proud to have, you know, swinging their bats, using their equipment. And I think, you know, a lot of people are super fascinated with equipment, and anytime that they agree with me that Louisville Slugger make the best bats and they want to swing them is like, you know, always a success story for me.
What makes Louisville bats different from other brands?
Yeah, I think in my experience, Louisville probably performs the best like across all conditions. So particularly when balls are soft or it's hot out, I think you have, you know, a lot better performance in those cases. I think some of the other brands like perform well. I think most brands perform well with like good conditions, good balls. Like I think that's pretty standard. At least for me, Louisville has always been a bat I can use if it's hot out, the ball is squishy, that I can, you know, drive out of the park or still get the exit velo I need. I like how they swing. You know, I like the swing weights of them. Yeah, I just think it's super reliable. You know, I'm never like too concerned about the conditions, like really, really altering how good I can hit.
Do you test a lot of gear before it hits the market?
I'm not super involved with any like testing or anything like that. I'm always eager to swing the new stuff as quickly as I can and, you know, see what's new and see how it performs. I have a lot of friends that like the bats, that buy all the different bats. So, you know, we're always, you know, seeing what we like the best and trying new stuff for sure.
Do you have any personal favorite from Louisville bats or any equipments by Louisville?
Yeah, so I think the one that I first started swinging, it was when Louisville sort of first started in the 240 space, and they were sort of like, they weren't as big yet, or like they didn't have the rep yet of being like the best 240 bat, and so it was this like silver and blue like Lady Jenny. It was like one of the first batches. It was like a 26.5 ounce bat with like a full ounce end load, and that's the bat I swung the first time like playing, you know, any like major tournaments or the PIF. So that one's always going to be special to me, for sure. That bat, I wish I could get another one of those because mine has unfortunately broken a long time ago after a lot of swings. But yeah, that's definitely the one that like changed it for me.
Are there any 2025 product or innovations you can give a sneak peek about?
I think most of the stuff has probably been advertised for the most part right now. They just launched, a handful of One Piece bats again. So those have been super popular. So they released the One Piece, different sizes, different weightings. So I think, yeah, I'm sure everyone has mostly seen those for now. Yeah.
Do you feel like softball is growing or going down right now?
That's actually an interesting question. I think, I mean, my pessimistic answer is that I think there's some degradation there. I think, there's places where, the game is dying a little bit. I haven't really been around long enough probably to make like a good assertion, but at least I notice like, everything's pretty expensive out there. It's expensive to travel. It's expensive to put teams together. So the sponsors that are still doing it are like really saving the game and then helping people out. I think, at least like anecdotally for me, like the leagues I play in, there seems to be like a loss of some of the talent, a loss of some of the better teams. I don't know. I think it comes in waves. For me, I haven't played as frequently as I have like in the past, just because, other things going on, and, I've sort of fallen out of love a little bit with it. But, I think there's opportunities for sure to bring it back and grow it. I know at least around me regionally, it's still a pretty popular game. Still a lot of teams at a lot of different levels playing. So although, the like I said, the pessimistic answer is I don't know if it's growing a lot, but I still think it's a really great hobby and a great sport, and probably has some staying power.
What do you think people could do to attract more young players or grow softball visibility done in the US or in other countries?
Yeah, I think like, I would say, I think like getting a good pipeline of players who are playing baseball or playing other sports. I feel like it's been like a very kind of a niche sport in the US. Like even really, I really wouldn't have known about it unless like my friend asked me. So I don't know, like, maybe, there's like just some way to like expose people to the game, expose people to how fun it is. So it could be like, pop-up events or, just, hosting, a home run derby or something to let anyone hit, not just someone from, softball or someone from the community or people from baseball or, maybe like going to, colleges or high schools where people are playing, to like have them, swing as hard as they can and hit some balls like that alone, can really, really interest people. Yeah. And I think having competitive options, it's hard to get competitive options, all around the US, like locally. So anyway, maybe to invite players to play competitively. So a lot of people that are coming from college sports or coming from high school sports, they want the next thing that they can compete at. And so I think, instead of having like the beer league, everyone plays for fun type thing, you have, stuff where, you can go and get beat up pretty good when you first start and, you can learn to play at a high level.
Are there any up and coming players from US we should keep an eye on, like eventually?
Yeah, I don't have a good answer for this. I'm a little removed from the game right now, so I wish there were people I could shout out. Yeah, sorry, I don't have a good answer for that.
Oh, there's no big deal. How do you see yourself still involved in the sports like 10 or 15 years from now?
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I think, like I mentioned, like the last couple of years I've played less frequently tournaments. I'm sort of getting the itch to play again. I'll be at the PIF again, and hopefully some other tournaments later in this year. I think it's something that I'll always play as a hobby for sure. So I actually started recently playing with my dad locally, which has been like a ton of fun to play with him. I am slightly excited, for senior softball, which is a long ways out for me. But, I've met people that play senior softball that have a really great time with it. So I think it's a game that I really enjoy. I really like. I'll probably have like different periods of intensity when I'm playing it. But, there's times where I thought like, I'd probably never play this game again, but that's probably a lie because I always end up finding myself playing again. So.
You mentioned earlier playing with your dad. Is that in weekly leagues or like tournaments?
Yeah, that's just leagues. He's still getting his footing to be an effective player. He has a pretty good glove. Hitting is a work in progress, but he's always been a good athlete. So I've sort of been coaching him up and training him up a little bit, and it's kind of fun, like when you're trying to teach someone the game who's never really played it and sort of teaching it in the way that like you think it should be played and how it should be played. So it's been a lot of fun. I think like lately for me, I've been playing more with friends, my dad, and more of those spaces than competitively. So that's been a pretty good change of pace considering I was playing it only. I mean, I still play to win, but like only to win, only to go to the best tournaments, play against the best players. Like that was my mindset for majority of the time I've played softball, but lately it's been like a little bit different for me.
There's people from the audience that would like to know how is it to play against like great Quebec team like Pro Action.
Yeah, I mean, I've always enjoyed playing against the best teams I can. I've played against Pro Action probably a lot of times now, probably in total like 6 or 7 games between the PIF and the Firecracker and other tournaments. I think it like definitely adds a new element when, as a hitter, for example, like there's no one on the defense that I want to hit the ball at, right? They're all like very, very strong defenders. They play very smart. They play together as a team. So I have a lot of respect for that team. I was fortunate enough to play with them last year at the PIF. I think, for me, like one of my best qualities has been that I typically play my best, against the best teams and in the best moments, with some exceptions where I did not do that. But yeah, I think it like really, ups the stakes and, it increases your focus, increases, the intensity. So that's what I prefer to play games like that. So those are always welcome for me.
Let's go to the rapid fire question. That's a new segment for the podcast. It's a short question and with. So, what's your all-time favorite bat you've ever batted with?
Like I said, the Lady Jenny Silver and Blue, like 2022-ish. Yeah.
Favorite field or tournament you've ever played?
Yeah, the hands down, I think the PIF, close second would be the Firecracker.
It's up to you to answer this one, but who's the biggest trash talker you've ever played against?
The biggest trash talker. Oh man. I've played against and with a guy named Mike Verbasco, who is a very popular pitcher from my area, and he is one of the best people to be on a softball field with, either against or with. So he's 1 in a million for sure.
If you could face off any softball legend, who would it be?
I'd probably pick Greg Cannell. I actually got to play. I've played against Rismondo before at tournaments, and it's like a whole different universe how good those teams are. So I would play against that team any day I could.
That's a great choice. Be honest. Rate yourself out of 10. Your swing, your glove, and your cardio.
Oh man, I guess what's the? Oh man, this is gonna. I'd say out of 10 swing, I'd give myself a 9. I'm confident in that. Glove, we'll say a 6, 6.5. I'll probably get crap for that. I'm sorry. What was the last one?
Your cardio, like running through the bases. And...
I mean, at a high level, like for the average people, I'm like a 7. At a high level, I'm like a 3.5 or a 4. So, yeah, not quite the 5-tool player. I'm a hitter through and through, and I'll admit that every time.
All right. Where can people catch you playing this summer for people interested in coming to see your games?
Yeah, so I'll be at the PIF next weekend. So that's one of my favorite spots. I'll be playing with a team from Massachusetts, from the U.S. I'm mostly out of New York, called AUIT. So they've been there before. It's a really, really strong team. And hopefully I'll be participating in the home run derby again. And then people can see me there. And then hoping to play the Firecracker, maybe Worlds later in the year in the U.S. So that's what I got planned.
People in the comments want to know if you will beat Scott this year.
I don't know. I don't know. I hope he's there. I hope we can battle again. Yeah, the last time Scott and I battled was, probably one of my best moments. That was, a really, really great event. I have confidence I could win again, but you never know. It just takes one good hitter to get hot, and you can't do anything about it, but we'll see.
How can people get in touch with you or other representative if they are interested in Louisville gear?
Yeah, for sure. So I believe on the Louisville Slugger Slow Pitch website, there should be like a map with, people in your area, representatives close by you. Also on like Facebook, Instagram, you can follow Slugger Slow Pitch. They're always, showcasing, some of their representatives and people using the gear. Yeah, so I'd start there.
What would you say to someone who's thinking about getting into adult slow pitch but isn't sure yet?
I would say definitely give it a try. I mean, it can't hurt to, try something new. I think also have an idea of what you're getting into the sport for. If you're someone that wants to play a sport competitively, then I think it's a great place to start. It's a great hobby. I think for me too, I've made a lot of great friends. It gives me something to do during the week, on the weekends, to hang out with friends and have a good time and see new places. So, I'd definitely be open to, having a good time playing the sport and take in everything else that comes with it too.
I also have another question from co-host. What's your go-to beverages on the field?
On the field? Oh man, I'm pretty boring. I usually just have some water with maybe some type of electrolyte packet, something like that. Yeah. So water and electrolytes is what I stick with. It's usually 0 sugar or sugar free, but yeah, that's usually what I'm drinking.
That's what concludes today's episode. Thanks for your time, and hopefully we'll see you at the PIF.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely come say hi, and anyone that wants to chat or whatever it might be, definitely come see me.
Thanks for your time today. That's pretty nice.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right.